a very prominent vocation, and they had a lot of theological meaning. So, as you might guess, my role up here is to talk about some of that theological meaning of a shepherd. Now, Luke's story has many angels in it. The angel that we see in this story tonight has already appeared to Mary and told her that she's going to have a child, and has been very busy with Zechariah and Elizabeth, telling them that in their ancient old age, they are going to bear a child who's going to be John the Baptist. So this is the third appearance of the angel Gabriel. And the angel doesn't come and appear to Mary. He's already done that. And he doesn't appear to anybody else except the shepherds. And we hear from Luke that the shepherds are in the middle of the night. They are watching their sheep by night. So it's nighttime. There's no sign of any star in Luke's story. So it's really dark out there. And the symbolism is multiple. One of the symbols is, and you have to kind of put yourself back in the place of living in the first century. The Jewish people were expecting a Messiah. They were looking for him. They asked John the Baptist a little later on, "Are you he? Are you the Messiah?" And he said, "No, it's not me, but I'm going to lead you to him." So they were looking for a Messiah, and this Messiah had to fill certain categories. One of them was that he had to be from Bethlehem, which was the birthplace of the most famous king of Israel, David. And David, it was from his lineage that this Messiah was going to come. So both from his lineage and from his birth town comes this child. And indeed, we have in this story from Luke that because of the census, Mary and Joseph traveled to Bethlehem, the birthplace of King David. It's very important. And because they're there in Bethlehem, when the baby is born, the baby comes from Bethlehem, the birthplace of King David. This is very important because the Messiah was supposed to be the progeny or the inheritor of all these characteristics that King David had, which was he was a wonderful ruler. He had a lot of human faults if you look at the text very carefully, but he was a wonderful ruler, and they thought he was the one that wrote all the Psalms. And I hate to break it to you, but he didn't write all the Psalms. He wrote some of them. Anyway, we have the angels announcing this wonderful news to these lowly shepherds, and the significance of this is you kind of have to know what happens to Jesus. And most of us are reading the story of the Nativity, knowing what happens to Jesus, right? We know the story. Jesus tells his disciples over and over again, "Pray with me. Don't fall asleep. Stay awake at night. Please don't fall asleep. Why are you sleeping? Pray with me." And what are these shepherds doing? They're staying awake all night. And not only that, they're doing something that in the first century was very important to leadership. They were tending their flock. Kings were supposed to tend their flock. So they are from Bethlehem, these shepherds. They are awake at night when it's kind of scary. There's coyotes out, and it's very dark. There's no cities with any light. And they are watching over their sheep by night. And the angels appear. What would have happened if they'd been asleep? They would have missed it. So they see the angels. And the angels, first it's just the angel Gabriel, who tells them, "Don't be afraid." Do not be afraid. That's the first thing out of Angel Gabriel's mouth. He says it to Zechariah, who is so scared, he is silent for the next 9 months of his wife's pregnancy. And then when he approaches Mary, the Virgin, she ponders these things in her heart. But the text says, she is terrified. But the angel says, "Do not be afraid." And again to the shepherds, the angel says, "Do not be afraid." Why would they say this? Who's encountered an angel lately? In our 21st century, angels are these little cute things with wings. They're pretty harmless, right? Why would you be scared of an angel? Hallmark angels? No? These were very scary creatures, angels. They came straight from God. Think of Moses up on top of the mountain communing with the Lord his God in this incredible thunder and lightning that nobody else was allowed to see. And Moses was scared. So this energy of lightning and thunder and the epiphany of God is coming upon them. Everything shakes. They come out of their skins. And the angel tells them this good news, this incredible news, which is that the Messiah is born. And here is the sign by which you know how to find him. He will be wrapped in swaddling clothes and laid in a feeding trough. And if you're in 4-H, you know that sheep and goats and all the animals we raise in 4-H need to be fed in a trough that's raised up a little bit. And there's significance here all over the place, but let's stick with the angels and the shepherds first. So the angels give their message to the shepherds, who by now are even more terrified because it says in the Greek, armies of angels come from heaven, not choirs sweetly singing with their harps. Armies of angels are there surrounding Gabriel, and they are hearing this news, and they are told to do something which all of us disciples of Christ are told to do. Now, keep in mind that Jesus can't tell us these things because Jesus is a baby in the manger. So we need these angels to tell us. And note, when Jesus is living his life out, that there are no angels. The next time we see angels are at his tomb. And there again, he's wrapped in linen bands and laid in a tomb. So there is a mirror here to his birth and his death. So where were we? The shepherds hear the news, and they are supposed to go share the good news. And what are we supposed to do? Share the good news. So the shepherds are a figure of us, of Jesus' disciples. We are to be awake at night. We are to watch over our flock by night. Luke's gospel is the great social justice gospel in the Bible. So if it's a lowly position, it has your name on it. We are supposed to wait on other people. We're supposed to watch over our flock. We're supposed to share the good news and not take any credit for it. And what do? The text says they rush off to do it. They don't check their lives. They don't go home and bury a brother. They don't go and say, I'm sorry, but my mother's sick and I need to go home. Remember what everybody says when they're asked to be a disciple in this story of Jesus? All of the shepherds rush to go see the baby Jesus. They are the example that we are supposed to follow. And when they get to Mary and Joseph, and we assume there's other family members around by now, this is their hometown, they share the good news. Now, Mary has heard that this was going to happen, but she pondered all these things in her heart, and we don't know that she's told anybody. So this sharing of the good news to the Holy Family is, what does it feel like to her? It feels like affirmation. Yes! The angel said this was going to happen, and here's my affirmation. Yes! And Joseph, in another gospel, Matthew, has angels coming to him and telling him this is going to happen. So if we think of Matthew, he also is being affirmed. Yes, this is what's going to happen. Sharing the news. And from here, we're supposed to continue to share and share and share and share. It's like the telephone game. So that we contain within us this glory of God. Now, I've skipped a few steps. The baby Jesus has to show us how to do that. And the baby Jesus is just a baby tonight, in this middle of the night, when he is first born. What we can do is we can marvel that this ever happened at all. That God came in a form that is accessible to us, that affirms us, that shepherds us, and befriends us, and scares the dickens out of us, and frustrates us no end, and yet continues to show up new again and again and again. After every tragedy, after every frustrating event that we go through, and we say, where is God in this? And there's the baby again. And each time there's the baby again, we have to learn how to grow with it again. It's not like we did last year or like we did with the last crisis. This baby wants us to do something new and different each time. And that's what's so hard for us. And that's what we have to use each other for, because we can't do this by ourselves. So with whatever it is, whatever burdens we're carrying, we are to look at that Christ child and know that that Christ child is whispering into each of our ears, saying, "This is what I want you to do, sweetheart." And then know that everybody else is getting whispers too. And be joyful, and stay awake, and say your prayers, and sing these carols, and know that it keeps happening again and again and